On the night he ingested about 70 micrograms of acid, Budik Hanopol went to the anonymous 7-Eleven to buy a hot dog. It was when he paid the cashier when the drugs kicked in. He was very hungry, and when he was about to chomp down on it, he heard a scream. Budik looked at his friend Chris and asked, "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" "The scream. Did you hear?" Budik said, furtively searching around the store. "No." Budik stuffed the hot dog back into his mouth. Then another scream, this time louder. Then it hit him. "No," Budik mumbled. "It can't be." The scream came from the hot dog. And saw a face like that of the Sanrio troll dolls of the 80s. Big, beady eyes, long comic nose, and frighteningly sunny smile. The face was on the upper edge of the hot dog, over which he was about to squeeze mustard. For a moment there, he was reminded of the face of his dead grandfather. "Please don't eat me," the hot dog said. "I have a wife and 7 kids to support." But Dick's jaw dropped open, ready to burst in a scandalously bitch-like shriek inside the 7-Eleven, until the functioning rational side of his brain reminded him, "Hello, this is your brain on acid." On April 1943, 64 years after the same day Albert Hoffman accidentally ingested lysergic acid diethylamide, Budik understood the meaning of the doors of perception being cleansed. He had read all about this substance romanticized by Timothy Leary, Aldous Huxley, The Doors, Grateful Dead, and other great minds of history, and what he expected were incandescent visions of angels, golden fruits growing from magnificent trees, oceans of clouds parting to give way to 1,000 maidens singing and playing harps. The last thing he expected was a talking hot dog. "Chris," Budik mumbled. "This hot dog, Chris. It's talking to me." "Nah, you're hallucinating already," Chris said flatly while picking out something from a stick of chocolate bars. He proved to be a lousy psychedelic guide. It was his obligation to assist Budik, a first-timer, in every step of the acid trip. The rule was this: only one of you must take a hit. The other must stay completely sober to serve as a shaman, a guide of sorts who must provide a soothing voice, encourage positive vibes, and gently assure that the tripper was surrounded by only the most pleasurable sensory elements. The very fact that Chris agreed to let him walk into a 7-Eleven was the height of criminal irresponsibility. The store at that hour was the worst place to be in for a man of Budik's condition. The sad lighting, the dreary shoppers reeking of dried-up sweat in their ugly basketball jerseys, and the grimy rubber scandals, air supply blasting from the speakers, floor wet from the thawing icebox, hyperactive children dashing to and fro, and the oppressive stench of bad meat. "Just keep it cool. I'll just pay for this. I got your butterfinger. A sugar dose can help you come down." But Dick was in the grip of panic, unable to understand a single word from Chris. But still, Budik decided not to let the chemicals run his brain. This is now a test of will, mind power. It's all perception. If the hot dog can speak, I'll talk to it. "So, you're a hot dog. When did you learn how to talk? How'd you get a face like that? How do you scream that loud? What's the name of your wife? Your 7 kids? You have a name?" "My name is Budik Hanopol and I play bass." "What do you do for a living aside from being a hot dog?" "If your main purpose in life is to be a hot dog, as all hot dogs are meant to be eaten, then isn't it your obligation to be chomped on?" His voice was loud. That night, more than 20 people and several children inside the 7-Eleven witnessed a man talking to a hot dog sandwich. "Budik, for Christ's sakes!" Chris dragged him out of the store. "Stop talking to the hot dog and let's go." "The hot dog is begging me to spare his life, Chris. Can't you hear him?" Budik screamed while hobbling like a man who was losing all his powers of mobility. The sandwich was still in his hand. This hot dog has a wife and 7 kids to support. By now, the acid had completely kicked in, and through Budik's eyes, Anona's road was a galaxy of lights and confusing sirens. A scooter passed by, with speakers attached and scattering hip-hop beats in its path. Budik thought he saw colors. He stopped and stared at the hot dog. "I can't eat this hot dog. What do I do with it?" At this point, An impatient Chris swatted the sandwich away from Budek's hand, sending it down the gutter. For a few seconds, Budek just stood transfixed, deliberating on what had just happened. Then he raised both arms lathered in ketchup and mayonnaise. He stared at the splat of bread, plastic, and meat and went hysterical. "You killed him, Chris! You killed that hot dog! It was a good hot dog!" "What about his wife and 7 kids, man, huh?" All the tricycle drivers lined up on the other end of the street were looking at them, anticipating a brawl. "Fuck it, Budik. You're losing it. It's just a hot dog." "Oh man, I should have known you weren't ready for this." "It was a good hot dog. He was begging for his life." "Let's get you out of here, Budik." Chris wrapped a reassuring arm on his shoulder. "Let's go where the bad hot dogs can't talk to you anymore. I know just the place." The hot dog, Chris. He looked like my grandfather." "What you need are some fine sights and some fine sounds," Chris whispered, shoving Budik into a rusty tricycle like a lumpy sack of rice.